China's new economic strategy makes the first China shock look tame. Back in the early 2000s, the world watched as Chinese manufacturing transformed global supply chains, flooding markets with cheap goods and upending entire industries. But what's happening now is on a whole new level. A seismic shift that's rewriting the rules of global competition. The first wave devastated American towns, hollowing out communities and leaving factories silent. It was a shock that many are still recovering from. But this new wave is different, more ambitious, more strategic, and far more consequential for the future. Now China isn't just making our stuff, it's aiming to invent, own, and sell us the future. From electric vehicles to next-generation batteries, from artificial intelligence to green energy, China is positioning itself at the forefront of tomorrow's most important industries. This is a leap from factory floor to global CEO, targeting America's crown jewels, innovation and technology. Chinese companies are no longer content to be the world's workshop. They want to be the world's innovators, setting trends and standards that others follow. The old narrative was that China could copy, but not create. That's over. Today, Chinese scientists and engineers are filing more patents, publishing more research, and launching more startups than ever before. The world is starting to take notice. China's now leading in electric vehicles, AI, and quantum computing. These aren't just buzzwords, they're the building blocks of the next industrial revolution, and China is determined to set the pace. While America debated tariffs and trade policy, China quietly built the infrastructure and talent to dominate the next century's critical technologies. Massive investments in education, research, and transportation have created an ecosystem where innovation can thrive. This isn't just another trade dispute, it's a fundamental rewiring of the global economic order. The stakes are higher than ever, as nations compete not just for market share, but for leadership in the technologies that will define our lives. The ground is shifting beneath our feet, and most of us aren't paying attention. While we scroll through headlines, the balance of power is quietly being redrawn. This is about who sets the rules for the 21st century, and right now that answer is up for grabs. The choices made today will shape the world for generations to come. The question is, who will lead and who will follow? To truly understand the challenges ahead, we must revisit the first China shock, a pivotal moment in economic history that reshaped the American landscape. Between 2000 and 2011, over 2 million American jobs vanished as Chinese imports surged, flooding the market with cheaper goods and undercutting domestic production. These weren't just numbers on a spreadsheet, these were the livelihoods and identities of entire communities, families who had built their lives around these jobs for generations. Towns in North Carolina and Virginia, once bustling with activity and hope, became ghost towns, shadows of their former selves. Main streets emptied, local businesses shuttered, and the social fabric unraveled, leaving behind a tapestry of broken dreams and unfulfilled promises. The promise was that free trade would benefit everyone, lifting all boats. But for many, it meant trading a well-paying union job for a minimum wage gig, a harsh reality that shattered expectations. Retraining programs, touted as the solution, rarely delivered on their promises. For many workers, the new opportunities they were told to expect never materialized, leaving them stranded in a changing world. The result was deep political and social divisions, fueling anger and a sense of betrayal that simmered beneath the surface, erupting in protests and heated debates. The China shock left scars that shaped elections and public discourse for decades, influencing policies and political landscapes in ways that are still felt today. It created a generation that felt abandoned by globalization, a generation that watched as the world changed around them, leaving them behind. The empty factories became monuments to broken promises, silent witnesses to the dreams that once thrived within their walls. We never truly fixed the damage, the scars remain, etched into the landscape and the hearts of those who lived through it. And now, a new, even more disruptive wave is on the horizon, driven by technological advancements and shifting global dynamics. The stakes are higher, and the consequences could be even more profound, affecting not just economies, but the very fabric of societies worldwide. Are we ready this time? Can we learn from the past and prepare for the future, or will history repeat itself once more? After China Shock 1.0, America pivoted, giving up low-tech manufacturing to focus on innovation. We doubled down on creativity, higher education, and R&D, believing our lead was unassailable. Silicon Valley boomed, and the US dominated software, pharmaceuticals, and advanced tech. The assumption, China would stay the world's factory, while we'd be its brain. But we underestimated China's ambition and overestimated our own security. We sold them advanced tech, welcomed their students, and let them invest in our startups. In doing so, we handed over the blueprints to our own castle. Our confidence blinded us to the fact that China was building its own ladder to the top. Our pivot to high-tech wasn't the end, it set the stage for a much bigger confrontation. The fortress we thought was impregnable turned out to be built on sand. While America celebrated its innovation, basking in decades of technological leadership and a legacy of breakthroughs that shaped the modern world, a new challenger was quietly rewriting the rules of the game. In boardrooms and government offices across China, leaders and economists were crafting a bold new economic playbook, one that would transform the nation from the world's factory into a global innovation powerhouse. With ambitious initiatives like Made in China 2025, Beijing set its sights far beyond low-cost manufacturing, aiming to leapfrog into the future by dominating the industries that would define the next century. The plan targeted supremacy in 10 critical sectors, ranging from aerospace and high-speed rail to next-generation information technology, advanced robotics, and new energy vehicles. Electric vehicles, artificial intelligence, robotics and more, China was determined to lead in each of these fields, investing heavily to close the gap with the West. The government poured billions into research and development, built sprawling science parks, and created entire innovation ecosystems designed to nurture the next generation of tech giants. At the same time, China shielded its emerging tech champions from foreign competition, using policy and regulation to give them room to grow and thrive. But China's strategy didn't stop at homegrown innovation. The country aggressively acquired technology from abroad, sometimes through joint ventures and forced technology transfers, other times through cyber espionage and covert operations. The results of this relentless drive are now impossible to ignore. Chinese brands like BYD have surged ahead, now outselling Tesla in the world's largest electric vehicle market and rapidly expanding their reach across the globe. Today, China controls much of the global EV supply chain, from critical minerals to battery production and final assembly, making it an indispensable player in the future of transportation. And it's not just cars. China is now a world leader in 5G telecommunications, artificial intelligence, and even quantum computing, fields once dominated by the West. In many ways, the student has become the master. Chinese entrepreneurs and scientists are now at the forefront of global innovation, inspiring a new generation to dream even bigger. The pace of change is staggering. Across every industry from manufacturing to digital services, China is transforming at a speed and scale the world has never seen before. No longer content to simply catch up, China is now setting the pace, leading global trends, shaping standards, and challenging established players on every front. The world's innovation center of gravity is shifting eastward as more and more breakthroughs emerge from Chinese labs, startups, and universities. America's old playbook, once the gold standard for economic success, is no longer enough in this new era of fierce global competition. The competition is no longer just about products or profits. It's a race for the future itself, a contest to define the next chapter of human progress. The numbers behind China Shock 2.0 are sobering. In 2023, China's industrial output surpassed the US, Japan, and Germany combined. China now files more patents than the US, a key sign of innovation. In 37 out of 44 critical technologies, China leads or is closing the gap fast. China produces twice as many STEM graduates as the US, building a massive skilled workforce. Their R&D spending is growing rapidly, strategically focused on key industries. Meanwhile, US R&D is often short-term and fragmented. America is being outnumbered and outpaced. The innovation gap is closing, and in some areas, it's already reversed. China's numbers game is working. The US is bringing a checkbook to a strategic war. The math is not in our favor. America has responded with tariffs, tech bans, and efforts to reshore manufacturing. Tariffs aim to punish China and protect US industry, but results have been mixed. Export bans, especially on advanced chips, tried to kneecap China's tech ambitions. The CHIPS Act and other incentives are meant to rebuild domestic manufacturing, but these efforts are slow, expensive, and often reactive. Tariffs raised prices for Americans without reviving many jobs. Chip bans spurred China to double down on self-sufficiency, with surprising successes. New US factories will take years to come online. America is patching holes in a dam facing a tidal wave. Our responses feel a step behind. The challenge is growing faster than our solutions. China's strategy isn't just about the US, it's about reshaping the world. The Belt and Road Initiative is building ports, railways, and power plants across continents, reorienting global trade toward Beijing. China is now the lender and builder of choice for much of the developing world. This creates a vast network of countries economically dependent on China. Chinese tech like Huawei's 5G is spreading, locking countries into its digital ecosystem. China sets the rules for the digital future, exporting its standards and influence. Economic power is translating into diplomatic leverage. China is now the top trading partner for over 120 countries, including US allies. The message is clear across China, and there are consequences. The global map is being redrawn with infrastructure and technology, not armies. If China becomes the dominant economic and tech power, the world changes fundamentally. Global standards for technology and trade would be set in Beijing, not Washington. The internet could become more fragmented and controlled, reflecting China's model. American companies would have to adapt to Chinese standards to compete globally. US economic leadership and its ability to set the rules would fade. The American-led alliance system would weaken as countries align with China for economic reasons. The dollar's dominance could be challenged by a digital yuan. US influence over global events would shrink. This isn't just about economics, it's about the values that shape the world order. A world led by China would look very different and not in ways that favor freedom. The question now is whether America can mount a credible response. This is a Sputnik moment, a generational challenge demanding national focus and unity. We can't turn back the clock or wall ourselves off with tariffs. The answer is to compete smarter, invest in R&D, education and infrastructure, attract global talent and reward long-term innovation. America must rebuild alliances and offer a real alternative to China's model. We need to be for something, not just against China. The choice is ours. Make the hard investments and sacrifices or accept decline. China is betting we won't rise to the challenge. The future depends on whether America can adapt and lead once more.